GM of the year and all that for the IL Indoor. When do you guys actually do that? Is it after the finals or do you do it coming up?
Well, I think what we're going to do, because the NLL is announcing their awards, I guess, before the finals. They were saying before the finals start, and that could be after this weekend, right? Because each of the semifinal series have 2 games this weekend. So if both series are swept, the finals will start. I think that probably they haven't said for sure, but they said they might move it up. It could start the next weekend. So they're going to announce theirs. I think we'll wait till the week after they announce theirs, and we'll start putting them. So we've got GM and Coach of the Year. We got Unsung Hero, Goalie of the Year, Defender, Transition Player, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. So,
Yeah.
and there's some pretty interesting voting. I mean, we
It,
have the results. All the voting was done before after the regular season ended, before the playoffs started.
oh,
Don't ask me who won, because I'm not telling you.
no, but I'm
Yeah,
very
there's some pretty interesting votes.
well. That's the thing is this year it was so hard to pick some of those. I'm not that it's not every year,
Yeah,
but like when you think of excuse me, when you think of like just the two top contenders for the GM of the year, I feel bad because I think Mulaski and Clark, but what is the Panther City guy's name? I always forget it. It's
Bob Hamley.
yeah. You look at what Panther City's been able to do too. Like they had a terrible
Mm-hmm.
start to the year, and now they made the playoffs, and we're one goal away, really from.
Oh,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness! I mean,
right.
wow, what a job! I mean, for Coach of the Year, that's why I guess I should have leaned that way towards. I think the GM. I mean, you know my opinion. Glenn
Yeah.
Clark's got to get it. And as far as I'm concerned, anybody else, you guys just don't know what you're talking about. I don't care. But I mean, obviously, I can
I
understand some
okay. So
points.
obviously, Glenn Clark is a huge factor for that. But think about what Kurt Malofsky did as GM in Vancouver. Changed over half of their defense. Brought in guys. I mean, Matt Beers came back last year, but brought in, or Brett Minsky came back last year. Brought in Matt Beers, Ryan Gilk, whoever. Everyone was saying those they're too old, to be bringing in for a team that's restarting. They were critical to the culture of that club. And I was saying from before the season, like everyone's saying, "Oh, Kurt Malofsky is going to make this huge difference, and they're going to turn around, and they're going to be in the playoffs." And da, da, da. It's like, whoa, easy. Not this year, probably. There's a big culture change. They changed over half the D. They've got, what's their goaltending situation? With Aaron Bold, who's hasn't had a great season for a little while. Great guy, but hasn't played really well for a while. Or Aiden Walsh, who's just super young and hadn't played well at all in the NLL. And you've got, the offense. Good. I mean, guys like Keegan Ball, you've got some great talent, but you know, I was like, I don't think this is a playoff team this year. I think next year the velocity factor will really have kicked in. But I kept saying, don't expect a playoff berth this year. That's not reasonable. It takes a little time. Well, and then they get to 2-8 or whatever they were, and you're like, see,
Told you.
and then they just start winning and winning and winning, and it's like, okay, maybe he can do this in 1 year.
Yeah.
And he almost, I mean, they were right there. They were tied for the last playoff spot
I
at
mean,
the end of the season. They were in that 5-way tie.
that's
And
the thing too is most impressive GM of the year, maybe, but like
mm-hmm.
Clark, it was more, and it's hard to say that because this was a multi-year build project. I
Yeah,
mean, yes, we're seeing the
yeah,
results this year, which is why everybody like me is saying if you don't make him the GM of the year, but really it's
yeah,
been a multi-year building process. All these people didn't
yeah,
just fall in. Colton Watkinson, Doug Jameson, like there's been a lot of pieces that have been there for years on top of the draft
yeah,
picks. Colton
yeah,
Watkinson, though, I think that really made him. I mean, Glenn Clark, look, they've had him forever. Brett Manny steps away, and wow, did he step up and fill those shoes and really,
that's the captain.
oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
yeah,
Yeah,
he was fantastic. And I mean, and you're going, and that's those are big shoes to fill. Brett Manning, very good player, better person, just a fantastic guy. They retired his jersey number this year, and just an amazing dude, like to just
super
hang out
nice
with and
guy.
talk across, and so nice, and such a leader, and such an inspiration for American players for sure,
Well,
right? And
especially
then
for where he came from too, because he didn't come
yeah,
from a traditional box location. He wasn't in New York
not at all.
State. He wasn't, out in northern Michigan. He wasn't on the Canadian border somewhere. Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
and
I do love that story.
he came into the league, and I've talked to Brett about it many times. How he said, that later and in most situations, he feels like he would never have had a career in the NLL. With most teams, he would have come into, because within a year or two, they would have said, "No, you're not. You just haven't got it. You don't. You haven't learned the game fast enough, whatever." But they really stuck with him when he got started, and it took him a while, and then he became a very good player because he had the dedication and athleticism. He was a three-state all-state athlete in lacrosse, basketball, and football, I believe.
Yeah,
Basketball and
I think it
either
was
football or
football.
football, I think. And then he'd actually initially he studied like journalism or broadcast stuff at college, and actually did announcing, like play-by-play color commentary for soccer and volleyball and basketball games while he was playing lacrosse at wherever he went. Did he go to Delaware? I can't
Yeah,
remember where he went.
Delaware.
Yeah, yeah. So amazing athlete, amazing leader, and just an amazing role model. But yeah, he was not a polished box lacrosse player when he started in the NLL, and somebody had the patience for him that you often don't have time
No,
for with players. Not everyone's Tom Schreiber, who
no.
just click in the box game
He's
immediately, right?
such
It's way more common
he's
to
such
take
a
a while.
freak. It's not even funny. Like you
Yeah,
watch, he is honestly though what like when you think of an American player, the way he switches hands and plays that is basically the top of it's the pinnacle of what you can expect from an American field player. Like it doesn't get any better
yeah,
than that for the box game,
no,
but that is like the epitome of our top. And it is nice to see because like you see him, oh my goodness, he switches hands, and for all the American guys that are used to the field where they do that, they're like,
yeah,
yeah, so what? But the
yeah.
accuracy that's required in box is something that most people don't understand. I did want to ask you about that. What size goals do they play with out there? I forgot.
They play the international goals, so they've got the 4 foot by 4 or 9.
So yeah, that's the
Yeah.
full size NLL goals,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. NLL/international size. So that's a big one for, I know, for a lot of the women, the goalies in particular, right, who
Oh
have
God, yeah.
never played
Didn't even think about
with
that.
that size. Yeah, I was talking to Evelyn Susie, who she's from Saskatchewan. She's 15 years old. Went to the Team Canada tryouts, and I talked to her about it, and she said, she said it went great. She never really got to play with girls. She was always playing with boys growing up, and then she played provincial team and go to box nationals and get to play with girls, but that was about it. And then she did the Team Canada tryouts, and she said, that's a big thing, dealing with that 3 inch wider net. And I know a lot of people say, oh, 3 inches, what's the big difference? Well, a ball's 2.5 inches. So if you're in a position where you normally figure I've got that post covered, there's a ball's width over there, and these shooters at this high level, they're gonna find that. So everything changes for the goalies.
The angles are the biggest thing for a
Yeah.
lot of guys too, though, because you have
Mm-hmm.
focal points from different arenas and you assimilate things or positions, and
Yeah.
all goalies have their things, but just not having, you've built in that muscle memory. Tap the post; it should be
Mm-hmm.
right here. Oh wait, no, it's only
Yeah.
that far over. Yeah, just those little adjustments. It takes a while. Not everybody can adjust super fast. Yeah, we've been doing
It's
this for.
also hard. I remember I played net once in my old guys league, and because the goalie was going to be away, so he left his. He's like, "Could you do it?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll do this one night." So I put on his gear, and I remembered a couple of things that I heard. One was to find your positioning. You kind of, if you're going from side to side, you go across and just step across the goal line, and you'll feel the post with your foot, and then you're on your post. So I did that the one time. I'm like, kept going, kept going, kept going. I'm like, I've got to be there. I take a look down. I'm a foot and a half past the post. I'd missed it. I was in front of it. And I'm like, there's so much net open at the time. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so hard. I can't believe. So I was like, don't have to look. You don't have to look down. You can keep watching the play and just feel it with your foot. Like, it is super, super hard.
I remember
So
I played for a little bit as a kid in hockey though, and I had one bad night, and that's all it took. I said I'll never do it again. The team lost, and it was completely my fault. I just had a terrible night, just couldn't see anything, was didn't work right, and I remember it as a little
yeah.
kid, and it's funny too because I laughed. I remember coming out after that game, and I was like, I'm done. I don't ever want to play goalie again.
It's funny. I remember that night that I played. Jeff Davis comes down. He's the son of Johnny Shooter Davis at the Major Series Lacrosse Playoff MVP tournament. MVP trophy is named for the award. He was one of the all-time great players. Just an unbelievable, unbelievable player. So his son Jeff, very good player as well, comes down, shoots, scores near post, and he goes, "Stamper, I'm sorry, man, but you left me like this much space on the post. I'm like, dude, I don't even know where the post is. Like, you don't have to apologize for scoring, but I'm just guessing where the post is. I have no idea. This is really hard. Like, but he was apologizing because he didn't want to like light up this guy who doesn't know what he's doing because he can score pretty easily for most. But he's like, he just gave me the space. I'm like, dude, I had no, I wouldn't know where I was. So,
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, we'll
yeah,
we'll have to touch base on this, and then next week we're going to be out of Uncommon Highlights here pretty soon. I'm super excited for the
yeah.
playoffs, and I can't wait for all that. Anybody looking for you, you are on Stamplax at Twitter, and it's now Stamp_Lax on Instagram.
That
Also,
is.
highly recommend checking out the Inside Lacrosse articles. I always screw this up for some reason. Inside Indoor. So I just usually say IL Indoor, but if you go there,
ILindoor.com,
yes,
right?
IL Indoor. They get way more into depth in the articles. Adam Levy, and there's several. I mean,
Levy.
really, or Levy. I screwed that up to
Yeah,
it, and I'll remember it
I
once
know.
because my nephew's name is Levi, but it's spelled the same way, so it always throws
Right.
me off because I know it's different, but when I say it, I just but the no
Ty Merrow as well is with us, and Cooper Perkins is part of the team. So yeah, it's a great group. It's kind of a dream team that
well
I put together when we had some restructuring. Bob Chavez actually wound up leaving last year. He was my co-editor, but I had a chance to add some people to the roster, and I basically went and decided who are the people I would like to have um, at IL Indoor if I could get him. And Adam Levy was one, and got in touch. Wasn't sure if he'd be available. And he was like, "Yeah, I can do it." And he's just been amazing. And Ty Merrow, I mean, and Cooper Perkins. I just thought if we can get this guy, he's great with all the stats stuff, the metrics he's doing, the analytics, fantastic. So
my favorite is though because I don't we cover so much that I get to watch a lot of highlights and stuff, but I don't know the history of it. And when you get these articles and I read through it and it kind of explains the different things from the past and the present, and it just makes things so much. It helps me understand things a lot better. For a guy like me who doesn't know a lot about it, I really appreciate it. Make sure you tell all the guys there. I love the work they do. Every one of them, I do read it a lot. Cooper Perkins sometimes loses me. He's got way too
yeah,
many numbers for me. Like I'll be the
yeah.
first to admit I'll try to get into it, and sometimes I'm just like I'm just too dumb for this. I feel like I don't know what it
I
is, but
find I can't always follow it either. I'm just like, okay, I know about a lot about lacrosse. I spend a lot of time watching and studying and looking at this. I love stats, but there are times I'm like, okay, dude, and he'll say, okay, so you look at this chart, and what this will show you is, and he's so good though at breaking it down for you. Like I love reading his stuff because he will break down like this is what this chart is showing, but he'll generally say, here, have a look at the chart, and I'll look at the chart, and he's got all these different types of charts and graphs. And I'm like, yeah, I'm getting nothing from this chart. He has his little radar charts. I'm like, you are going to have to explain this to me, which he does a really good job of the explanations. But yeah, I get lost in some of the charts.
yeah, no, it I definitely can say that happens to me as well. I am going to just show everybody this real quick because I screw this up sometimes when I go. But just so everybody knows, when you go to Inside Lacrosse, sometimes when you click it, right here is the spot you're looking for. IL
Where
Indoor.
is it?
When I go to Inside
I don't
Lacrosse,
even
if
go
it,
that way.
yeah, see, so I don't know if it's just here or like in the States, but whenever I go to, this is where it brings me. So then we have
Yeah,
to click
yeah.
this, and then right here is IL Indoor.
There it is. Okay.
And I
I
gloss over
honestly,
it
I mean,
sometimes. Yeah, you
yeah,
probably
like
don't visit the website very often
it's
from the
bookmarked,
outside.
right? It's
Yeah.
just where no, I go to the website all the time because I have to go and check things and
Yes.
and make sure the orders came out right and everything. This is one I just did this afternoon was did they break out? So that was before the season. I did a bunch of slideshows with 10 players for this or that or the other. I did 10 players I thought had chances to be like big breakout seasons, and I tried to pick some that were a little more long shots, like Bryce Tolney, who was fantastic in the
I
Rabeski
know.
last year, actually.
Not just that. In the PBLA, every time I've
Yeah,
seen that guy play, he's amazing. I've watched him score
he's so
four
good.
goals as a transition player. Yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't make it with Colorado this year, and then didn't get picked up. I think he's still got a great chance. But my crowning one was Ryan Lansbury there in his Georgia jersey before he was traded. He's the one. He was my number one guy, and obviously he's been fantastic. He was top 25 or so in the league in points, and he missed a game. He would have been top 21, I think, if he'd had that extra game and scored the same number. And Ethan Walker is another one. I was pretty happy with that one because I noticed that last year his points were he did okay in the first half of the season, but it was in the second half he really took off, and he jumped from the first 10 games to the last 7 or something,
Marshall.
and so then I said, you know what, it's going to keep going. He's going to be even better, and of course I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know how good Alex Simmons and Ty Kurtz and Travis Longboat and everyone were going to be. I had Simmons was my pick for Rookie of the Year, which I was surprised that it wasn't more common. Everyone else at IL Indoor picked Thomas McCombie, and everybody I saw everywhere was taking McCombie or maybe Owen Grant. So I was pretty happy about that I had Simmons from the start, and he had a good year, great year, second highest. Here's the thing about Alex Simmons this year: he had 96 points. If it wasn't for Jeff Keats' rookie year a couple of years ago, that would be the record for rookies. He passed Randy Stotts' 95 from 2016 that had been the record for quite a while. Great year for Alex Simmons.
And how about poor Ty Kurtz? If he played on any other team, he'd be the rookie of the team.
Right? Right? And here he was, I mean,
I,
there are people who argue that he was the best rookie on the team. I'm like, I get it. Like he was fantastic, but Alex Simmons, I mean, he was just culture changing
the
for that
well,
club.
the way the offense runs, it runs through like with Simmons and Paulus. It's a different feel for it. You, especially if you
And
watch the
Walker.
games. Yeah, and the way I think Ethan Walker's the most underrated pick that Albany did. That trade for Q. Q scores goals.
Mhm.
Andrew
He was
Q's a
great.
great player. So a lot of people were talking about that one. But man, has Ethan Walker really come on, and he fits this team so much better than I
Yeah.
felt Q fit the team, because at the time they
Yeah.
didn't quite have Marshall. They didn't have the playmakers that they did now, but now
Mhm.
they've got their playmakers built up with these young guys, and everybody's gelling together instead of having to mesh personalities of guys who have established as pros versus that. And I mean, same with Paulus. He was another guy who was kind of floating into obscurity up in Saskatchewan. Kind of,
Yeah. Pick 6th or 7th overall.
yeah, picked great, and then
Yeah.
kind of they weren't happy with it, but I think it just wasn't a good fit for the offense. And yeah, wow, has it been a great fit in Albany?
Yeah. Marshall Palace, it's interesting because I do tons of prospect coverage, right? I do my mock drafts every year and all my top 50 prospects. And I'd seen Marshall Palace play in Junior B. I saw him play in the President's Cup. I saw him play in World Juniors. I saw him play a lot. And I was like, this kid is special. He's really got it. And I had him as a top 5 to 8, 5 to 7 kind of range. And I had tons of people saying, I don't know, maybe top 10, maybe 15. I was like, I don't know. And I talked to Derek Keenan, and he said we're talking about who might go there because it was a tricky spot. They were at like 6 or 7, and we're talking about different possibilities. So like, oh, I like that lefty kid too, the Palace kid. And I'm like, yeah, he's pretty good, and that's who they wound up taking. I mean, he wasn't going to tell me who they were taking because they didn't know based on how the
Yeah,
draft was going to play out. But the fact that Derek Keenan had him up in that range made me think like, okay, just remind him to like, go with my gut. I've seen enough of these players. I've done enough coverage. I have a pretty good idea of when
yeah.
the player is special. And he didn't get a great start going in Saskatchewan, but he's really come on, and he's important to that Albany offense.
It is
The
huge. Him and Longboat, the way they work together, and not the
Travis
just
Longboat,
yeah,
he's a great.
another one. Like I said, you could talk about that entire offense. There isn't a player
Yeah,
that plays it on the offense for Albany that has not impressed me. Like Piatelli, he came back from the injury. He's had
yeah, he's
a
good.
few. Yeah, I mean, everybody on that team offensively. Grennan is honestly though my favorite. He's probably one of my favorite NLL players to watch. I absolutely love watching him
Not
out there.
many people's favorite player to play against.
No, God no.
People do not like him.
If he
He is
played
gritty.
for
He's in your face.
if he played for any other team, I would talk about
Yeah,
what a little pest he is, and I don't like him, and
yeah,
nobody can stand him. But because he's a
yeah,
firewolf, he is hands
yeah,
down probably my favorite player to watch. Because when you're watching the whole game and not just watching like who's scoring the goals, one, he never
yeah,
stops moving, and two, yes,
yeah,
everybody wants to punch him in the face by the end of the game.
yes, and often does
Yes.
by the end of the game. Ethan Walker's another interesting one. Players get drafted, and I mean Georgia traded him. I think Georgia's pretty happy getting Andrew Q for in that deal. And there's some different moving pieces with picks and things, um, but Ethan Walker went to Georgia, and I think his development was slowed a little bit by not really getting to play a lot of senior lacrosse because he's from Peterborough, played for Peterborough. It's funny. I remember the day that the Lakers acquired Mark Matthews a few years ago. Everyone in Peterborough was very excited just about everybody. They're like, "Oh, Mark Matthews, amazing! It's so great." Da, da, da. They got him from Brooklyn, but that night or the next night, I was at my old guys' league, and Mike Walker was in the room. He's on my team. We're sitting there getting ready, whatever, and all the guys are like, "Oh, it's so amazing! It's so great that we got Matthews." And Mike's like, "I don't think it's that great. I don't really like it." Because Ethan is his son, and that meant the Lakers' left side had Mark Matthews, Corey Small, Holden Katoni, Turner Evans, and Matthews. What was Matthews, Katoni, Evans, Small? Oh, there was one more, but it meant that. What's that? You're muted.
There's one more besides Walker because you didn't
Yeah,
mention
there's
him
one
in the
more
list.
besides
Oh,
Walker, one
gotcha.
more NLL guy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who it was at that point, and it just meant that Ethan wasn't going to get to play much that season.
Yeah.
So he was a healthy scratch for a good chunk of the season. Because I mean, you had like you'd have Corey Small, all these guys taking turns being the healthy scratch. Who wasn't okay? The right side was Sean Evans, George Territz, Thomas Hogarth. Hogarth usually played D. Oh, who was the other lefty? Can't believe I'm forgetting this right now, but it was good. I mean, it was another really, really high caliber player. That was before they had Eli McLaughlin come in. He came in
That
after Matthews. But anyway,
that
it was
I
a strong
think
left side.
Oh yeah, no, but that I think is honestly the biggest problem with the Canadian junior and senior circuit. Owning player cards and the way all that works, because
Yeah,
you end up with some teams that, you know, a guy might not get the playing time just because he can't
yeah.
be traded or go somewhere else. Not that he necessarily would want to, but it's
Mm-hmm.
nice to have that option where guys can go be a fit on their choice
Yeah, and Ewok didn't want to go anywhere else. He's a Peterborough guy. He wanted to play for the Lakers, right? I
yeah,
mean, that's his spot. But yeah, no. But that I remember Mike being like, "I'm not that excited about getting Matthews," and I mean, they won the Man Cup. It was great, and Matthews was terrific. But at the same time, it was not the best thing for Ethan.
yeah.
So you totally understand why that would not have been as exciting for him. I am going to figure out who it was though. The other lefty that they had at that point. I should know this. Let me see.
Yeah. No, you
Corey
see it.
Vitarelli.
Oh,
Yeah, Corey Vitarelli would have been the other one.
I don't think I know him.
Oh, really? He's a Peterborough guy. Played for the Nighthawks when they won their 3 championships. Played for the Wings. Finished up, I think, with the Wings a couple of years ago. One of the best inside players you will ever see. Of all the players you've ever seen, like when there's a shot that bounces off the goalie and pops up, and there's a guy standing right by the crease. If there's one guy I've ever seen play that you want to be the guy standing there because he will catch that ball and put it back in the net, it's Corey Vitarelli. Best inside hands I think I've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's pretty impressive.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
No, it was quite a left side, and all these guys are getting sat for games because they've got so much talent on the team. So
Yeah. All right, we have done this way later. We're way past my bedtime now. I got to go. It's
right,
been awesome, Stamper. Thanks so much, and we'll do it again soon.
thank you. It's always great to catch up, and yeah, thanks for putting all that together.
Absolutely. We'll talk. Bye. All right, we have done this way later. We're way past my bedtime now. I got to go. It's
Right,
been awesome, Stamper. Thanks so much, and we'll do it again soon.
thank you. It's always great to catch up, and yeah, thanks for putting all that together.
Absolutely. We'll talk. Bye. Thanks everybody so much for watching. As always, the full-length videos will be uploaded and the separate clips will all be uploaded to his playlist on the YouTube. Please stay tuned. Thanks everybody. Like and subscribe.